Each of us consumes different agricultural products every day, be it the food on our plate or the cotton shirt that covers our backs. We can obtain many of these products right at our fingertips. But it's the sweat and blood of the farmers that has made this possible. Can you guess the number of people in India who rely on agriculture for a living? Well, more than 50% of people in India depend on agriculture for their livelihood. However, the share of agriculture in the total economic output of the country, measured in terms of the gross domestic product or the GDP, has been coming down steadily. At the time of independence, agriculture contributed to more than 50% of the GDP. Today, this contribution is less than 20%. Though its contribution is less compared to industries and service sectors, the agriculture sector is still of great importance. This is because more than half the Indians depend on it for livelihood, and it helps us achieve our food security. When India got independence, 75% of people depended on agriculture. However, agricultural productivity was low, meaning less crops per unit area were produced compared to many other countries. It also depended on factors like natural fertility and the monsoon. So, when the monsoon failed, agriculture also failed. This often forced India to import grains from outside, which meant that we were dependent on other countries for basics like food. So obviously, it was important to develop our agriculture sector. And so the government brought in some reforms. These reforms belonged to two categories: technological and institutional. Technological reforms refer to the advanced methods and modern equipment in farming to increase productivity. This is achieved by using a high-yielding variety of seeds, fertilizers, and modern farming machines like tractors and harvesters. Testing soil samples in labs is an example of technological reforms. To carry out such technological innovations, research institutions are required. Establishment of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, agricultural universities, veterinary services, animal breeding centers, horticulture development, and research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast are some of the steps in this direction. Technological reforms do ensure higher productivity, yet their implementation will remain ineffective until they are accompanied by institutional reforms. Let's understand this with an example. Generally, the cost of modern inputs like high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, and machines is high. Now, a small farmer may not be able to afford this input cost. In such cases, the government may choose to provide subsidies to the farmer to buy modern inputs. This subsidy is an example of an institutional reform. Reforms related to land ownership, crop subsidies, and selling of farm produce are called institutional reforms. These reforms ensure a holistic development of the farming sector, making agriculture a profitable activity and improving socio-economic conditions of the farmers. Let's see some of the institutional reforms introduced by the Indian government. First was land reforms, which refers to change in ownership of land holdings through abolition of the zamindari system. Land reform was the main focus of our first 5-year plan from 1951 to 1956. After independence, the ownership of land was concentrated in the hands of a few intermediaries, such as zamindars and jagirdars. They owned the land and acted as intermediaries between the government and actual cultivators of the land. Following independence, steps were taken by the government to abolish intermediaries and transfer ownership of the land to the cultivators. Now, the rationale behind this move was that the cultivators will be motivated to improve the land if they own it and are provided with inputs necessary to cultivate the land. Now, although this was a good step, it led to another issue of land fragmentation. Suppose if a zamindar's land of 100 acres is given to 100 cultivators, then each cultivator will get 1 acre of land. If a cultivator who owns 1 acre of land divides it equally among his 5 children, each child will get 1/5 of an acre of land. With each generation, land gets fragmented furthermore. In this way, right of inheritance led to land fragmentation. Now, why is fragmentation a problem? Well, fragmented land is not suitable for large-scale farming. Suppose by the government's rule, a cultivator gets 1 acre of land. Now, the problem is, this 1 acre of land is distributed in many land parcels, often distant from each other. These parcels of land are of irregular shapes, limiting the use of modern machines. Moving laborers and machines over distant parcels of land increases cost. Fragmented land also limits the development of drainage and irrigation systems. All these also affect the farmer's ability to obtain sufficient profit and sustain a livelihood based on agriculture. So, how do we solve this? Well, one way of dealing with this problem is land consolidation. It means grouping the fragmented land parcels together to enlarge them and improve their shape. This enables use of machines, reduces transportation cost of laborers and machines, and helps in development of drainage and irrigation systems. Therefore, initiatives like land consolidation and collective farming were encouraged and adopted by the government as a part of institutional reforms brought in to revive the agricultural sector. Let's discuss some technological reforms. The government built big dams for irrigation and power generation in different parts of the country. As a result, the irrigated area increased, which resulted in higher land productivity, which consequently increased the crop production. However, despite this increase in food production, 2 consecutive droughts in the mid-1960s led to a fall in food production, which forced India to import food grains. On top of that, the population was rising during this period. In order to feed the increasing population, more crops had to be produced. Now, the challenge before the government was to increase farm output. In order to become self-sufficient in food production in the 1960s and 1970s, the government introduced the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution refers to the adoption of technology and modern methods of farming to increase productivity. Farmers were given high-yielding variety seeds, provided with irrigation facilities and loans to buy fertilizers and pesticides. It raised productivity and led to India becoming self-sufficient in food production. The amount of food grains produced increased by 5 times from 1950 to 2015, from 51 million tons to 253 million tons. One of the most important aspects of the Green Revolution was that farmers were able to increase crop production without increasing the area under cultivation. While in the 1960s, a farmer was able to produce just 287 kgs of rice or paddy in 1 acre of land, by 2015, he could produce 800 kgs of the same crop per acre. Inspired by the success of the Green Revolution, the nation witnessed another revolution called the White Revolution, or Operation Flood. It was intended to make India self-dependent in milk production. The Green Revolution was a huge success, but the benefits were confined to limited areas. For example, a state like Punjab with good irrigation facilities benefited the most, whereas states like Assam, Himachal Pradesh and Odisha lagged behind. To address this regional disparity, the government initiated a comprehensive land development program in the 1980s and 1990s with focus on both technological and institutional reforms. Let's see how these reforms changed the life of farmers in India. Poor Prakash. He wants to grow crops on his land. Alas, he doesn't have the money to buy seeds and agricultural implements. But don't worry, Prakash. You have the government support. To help farmers like Prakash, the government arranged bank loans at low interest rates and established cooperative societies and Grameen banks to give credit to farmers. Farmers could get access to Kisan credit cards as well to buy agricultural inputs. All these ensured availability of credit to the farmers. A few showers of sudden torrential rain and months of hard work and care put in by the farmer can get ruined. But what if there was a way for the farmer to know about these erratic weather conditions? Well, that's where weather bulletins help. With timely weather bulletins, the farmer can take preventive measures to save his crops from nature's fury. But even if the farmer takes preventive measures to safeguard against some hazards, there might still be some events that can completely decimate the crops, like severe droughts, fires, cyclones, crop diseases, or even pest attacks. Well, that's when crop insurance comes to the rescue. With crop insurance, the farmer can recover the money he has lost due to the destruction of his crops. What if there is a bumper harvest and the prices of crops come down due to huge supply? In order to tackle the problem of price volatility, the government introduced a minimum support price. Minimum support price is the price guaranteed by the government for a particular crop. If the market value is lower, the government will buy the produce from the farmer by paying the minimum support price. Announcement of a minimum support price also acts as a check against the exploitation by middlemen and traders. Apart from all these measures, the government also took initiatives to impart skills and provide special training to farmers. For this purpose, special programs were broadcasted on the television. With many more such initiatives taken by the government over the years, we hope the farmers all over the country are better equipped to safeguard their livelihoods. Today we are living in a world where we are able to buy almost any product made in any part of the world. This was made possible by globalization. Globalization refers to the spread of products, technology, jobs, and data transcending national borders. And this is a continuous process. The export of Indian spices, cotton, and indigo during the British rule are examples from the past. Cotton and indigo were important raw materials for the British textile industries located in cities like Manchester and Liverpool. But the story of the blue gold during the British Raj was one of struggle and oppression. In some places like Champaran in Bihar, farmers were forced to grow indigo instead of food grains. The rich blue dye from the indigo plant was a source of profit for the British. So they coerced and threatened the farmers into growing indigo. As the resentment against this coercion grew, it led to the Champaran movement of 1917. It may have been due to such experiences during the colonial period that in the post-independence era, the Indian markets were initially shielded from international influence. As a result, farmers were protected from competition with international agricultural markets. However, things changed in the 1990s. Indian markets were open to the world once again. The markets in India became globalized. So, how did this affect the farmers? Well, let's find out. Munna Lal, a farmer in Uttar Pradesh, cultivates his 2 acres of land with the help of primitive implements and a few hired laborers. The amount of crops produced by him is also very less. On the other hand, Joe Horan, a farmer in the US, cultivates his 250 acres of land with the help of modern implements and a maximum of 4 laborers. His government offers subsidies to him, which brings his production cost even further down. Now, what do you think will happen if both Munna Lal and Joe Horan sell their products in the Indian market? Well, as Joe's product is cheaper and of higher quality, people will prefer to buy that. This will adversely affect Munna Lal's income. A few developed countries offer subsidies to farmers to cultivate various crops. This cuts their production cost and brings down the total cost of the product, making it cheaper. In addition to this, there has been a reduction in import duties on agricultural products. This has made international products cheaper in Indian markets. On top of all this, the subsidies provided by the Indian government to its farmers have been decreasing, leading to higher input cost of production. Our country is an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute, and spices. However, our agricultural products are not able to compete with the developed countries. All this has led to farmers withdrawing their investment from agriculture, leading to downfall in the employment in agriculture. So, all the stories we hear about farmers' distress can be traced to one of these reasons. But the story doesn't end here. Another issue that that farmers face nowadays is land degradation. It is being alleged that the Green Revolution, which emphasized on increased use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, has led to land degradation and affected soil fertility adversely. It is also responsible for drying of aquifers and affecting the overall biodiversity. Organic farming, which involves cultivation of crops without the use of chemical inputs and uses other naturally occurring inputs, is seen by some as the way forward. In addition to the environmental concerns, some economists have pointed out that the shrinking size of land holdings is another major challenge in the agriculture sector. Dependency of 833 million rural population on mere 250 million hectares of land makes per person availability of land to be less than half a hectare. Thus, there is a need to engage the rural population in other sectors like manufacturing, small-scale industries, etc. As agriculture is the most important sector in the Indian economy, various reforms should be undertaken to improve the productivity and conditions of small and marginal farmers. Some economists argue that the Indian farmers should diversify and produce high-value crops to export to international markets. This can lead to increased income and reduction in environmental degradation, as crops such as fruits, medicinal herbs, flowers, vegetables, biodiesel crops like jatropha and jojoba require much less irrigation than rice or sugarcane. Some suggest that a gene revolution, which includes genetic engineering, is the answer to all the problems. Using hybrid varieties of seeds will improve the crop's ability to withstand drought, resist pest attack, and will provide higher yield. Some experts suggest that India has a huge advantage as it has a diverse range of climates that can be harnessed to grow a wide range of high-value crops. Along with these measures, quality of food products has to be increased and newer environmentally friendly technologies have to be adopted for a prosperous future of the agriculture sector.